Greetings, Eric Backer, naturopath from New Zealand. I'm author of Candida Crusher. Thanks for checking out this video today. We're going to talk about Candida Tropicalis. It's a question I get asked from time to time, by different people. Eric, what are the different types of Candida strains? Can you tell me about Candida lusitaniae, Candida Tropicalis, Candida parapsilosis, Candida glabrata? There are so many types of Candida. I see them all in my clinic because that's what I specialize in. So Candida glabrata, for example, is not that common. Candida krusei, C-R-U-S-E-I, I see rarely. I've seen maybe only about 10 cases in all the years I've practiced. It's probably less than 1% or 0.5% of all Candida cases. Albicans makes up for about 50% or more. I would say the Tropicalis is about 4 to 5%. I just had a look at a well-known Candida website with all this stupid information on Candida Tropicalis, saying that it does this and it does that. Be very careful what you read online. As Mark Twain said, be careful what you read because you could die of a misprint. Okay, if you actually believe some of the stuff you read. My talking on this YouTube channel is based on my clinical experiences spanning 31 years now and many thousands of yeast-infected patients. But it's also my experience is based on speaking to people that are far more expert than I am in mycology or fungal studies. So I've got some very dear friends who spent their whole life just studying yeasts. I mean, what a thing to do, just studying yeast. So they actually study it in a microbiology sense. So from what I've been told, Candida tropicalis, what does it sound like? Tropicalis. It obviously doesn't sound like it's living in Antarctica, does it? So it sounds like it lives in the tropics or in the subtropics. I tend to find it more in people involved in like marine environments, like swimming in oceans and stuff like that, or people who eat a lot of marine food or seafood. I've seen a bit of that in it. I've got some patients in Indonesia, for example, that tend to have a much higher incidence of this particular yeast than I would be from people in Norway or Sweden. I've never seen Tropicalis in Sweden. I've seen other forms of yeast infection there with people. Tropicalis can be hard to eradicate. And again, this website I'm looking at now says that it's not usually as aggressive as Candida. I would beg to differ. I find Tropicalis harder to eradicate than Candida albicans. And reason being, particularly because it's a tropical Candida. It's a tropical fungal. And people who live in tropics have a harder time getting rid of Candida, period, than people who live in Iceland or Greenland, where it's a lot colder. Okay? And part of the reason is obviously the heat, the humidity. Other part of the reason is their diet. Because often tropical diets tend to be higher in sweet fruits and spices and sweet foods. Many people in Indonesia love sugar. They love sugar. They eat so much sugar, for example. Whereas a person in a country that's very cold and freezing would tend to eat a more warming kind of a diet. They eat sugar, but I find the tropics, they tend to love sugar the most. So biofilm is not something really associated with Candida tropicalis, again, in spite of what this website I'm looking at now is saying. So biofilms, in particular with people who've got multiple Candida species and many other bacteria and crappy diets to support biofilm. So if you don't want biofilm, eat well. Take antifungals, antimicrobials. Never drink alcohol if you want to avoid biofilms. Okay? Avoid pharmaceutical drugs if you want to avoid biofilms. So how do we eradicate Tropicalis? Well, the same way we eradicate all the other 18 species of Candida I commonly see. We take an antifungal. We take a diet that's high in antifungal and antimicrobial kind of foods. I've spoken plenty about this already on YouTube. We're going to look at garlic in our diet. We're going to look at ginger. We're going to look at a lot of fresh herbs, particularly oregano, thyme, marjoram, rosemary. All these woody spices, woody herbs are very good because they really help to eradicate lots of different microbes from the body. Clove is a good spice, cinnamon, so we can include these in the diet. We need to include the low sugar fruits for the first 3 months, and eventually we can add more. We need to add plenty of vegetables to the diet that cause great fermentation and good bacteria in the small and large intestine, particularly in the ileum and in the colon. These are ways to eradicate Candida tropicalis. If you've got a seriously bad Candida infection and multiple species, and you live in the tropics, sometimes moving to a cooler climate for 3 months, bang, infection gone. I've seen it sometimes in people. When they were so sick and so toxic, I said, just get out of there for 12 weeks. And it created a massive shift. The diet shifted, the stresses shifted, the lifestyle shifted, the outcome was very favourable. Candida Remove that I formulated in 2013 works fantastic with Candida Tropicalis. I've had several favourable outcomes, which I've definitely seen a pre and post stool testing, where we had a positive culture of 1 or 2 plus. We went to nil growth within 3 months. So you can defeat Candida Tropicalis. Look at a broad spectrum antimicrobial. Make sure that the antimicrobial has berberine in it, preferably oregano, preferably grapefruit seed extract, preferably underselenic acid, okay, preferably caprylic acid, preferably neem, all the things which I like and use in my clinic. I put them all in one tablet called Candida Remove. I found it effective against all 19 strains of Candida that I've come across in my clinic. Occasionally I still come across a very rare form of Candida. It could be 1 in a million, but I still get them every now and then. So it's difficult for me to validate the extremely rare strains with the work I do, but I know that Tropicalis yields very well to Candida Remove. So there you have it. Don't fear. If you've got Candida, you can eradicate it. Remember, diet and lifestyle primarily. It'll work for you too. Thanks for tuning in.